Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I want to welcome you to our 14th lecture. Our course that we call Occupational Health and Safety. The title of the course, just to remind you, our course is Philosophy and Leadership of Occupational Health and Safety. Over time, we've been dealing with the philosophical aspects, and in the last part, we are now dealing with leadership specifically. Now, I hope this will not create an impression that leadership is a concept that we have not considered during our presentations on philosophies. So I hope that will not cross your mind, because even during our lectures where we have described realities at the workplace using either subjective and objective, and how knowledge has developed over time, once in a while we have integrated the concept of leadership there. So I've brought in the leadership concepts and perspectives. But right now I wanted to give leadership a special treatment so that you understand the kind of leadership that you must have for occupational health and safety. So in our lecture 13 last week, we did define safety leadership. And of course, the objective here was to ensure that we talk about similar things, or we are talking about similar things. So we went through the conceptualization of safety leadership, and we also attempted to look at the various values or the various components that constitute safety leadership. Ladies and gentlemen, we also went ahead and discussed only two components that constitute safety leadership, and those were discipline, and of course the second aspect was vision, and we stopped at that level of vision. So in this lecture we shall be continuing with the other elements that were not covered, and then I'll also be a little bit fast and try to demonstrate the difference between safety leadership and other forms of leadership. And then we shall also see whether safety leadership changes according to one's span of influence in an organization, and how organizations and societies and communities can actually utilize the theory behind leadership and the science behind safety leadership and integrate this in an organization, so that at the end of the day you achieve health, safety, and well-being at the workplace. So, ladies and gentlemen, just to take you back to those things that we covered, if you recall, I showed you a table, and that table, if you recall, had 7 components. The first one was discipline, 2 was vision, 3 honesty, 4 values, 5 promotion, 6 demonstration, and 7 engagement. Now we discussed discipline and vision, and right now allow me to take you to the screen and show you the other components that we did not cover, and I'll be very fast in covering them. Ladies and gentlemen, as you can see from that table, we do provide those constructs or dimensions of safety leadership. We have discipline and vision. We covered those components. Right now, I want to start from the third component that we call honesty. And we need to understand this concept of honesty from the perspective of the health and safety professional, and from the leaders in that particular organizations. As you can see from the screen there, organizations that have a lack of trust are destined, I hope you are listening, those particular organizations that have a lack of trust are destined to fail due to a lack of organizational commitment from workers. So therefore, the issue of trust and honesty is very important in safety leadership. Without trust and honesty coming from leaders, the inevitable dictum, us versus them mantra starts to surface. And we see here that leadership requests may be met with farcical obedience. And therefore, this means that we must build trust within a company, and we harness that trust from relationships between leaders and employees. And of course, at the end of the day, the importance of such relationships is often documented in the body of knowledge that we are very familiar with. That's the leader-member exchange relationship. And this is where line manager relationships with the staff are pivotal in influencing employee behavior. So as you can see, honesty within the scope of safety leadership can be permeated through multiple avenues, ladies and gentlemen. And of course, this can include sharing of site wins or challenges. So if you have achieved something at the workplace, right, or maybe you have received a certificate from one of the certification bodies, maybe you have been recognized by some other people outside the environment where you are, those are called wins, organizational wins. But if you're on a construction site, a road construction site, building construction site, etc., and you're an engineer, still the site wins or the challenges that you meet at the sites must be shared with the other people. Now, when you share, you create trust. You provide data around any recent incidents, and then you provide regular updates on any expressed employee concerns. And these are very important issues, ladies and gentlemen. So trust is very important and is one of the major aspects of authentic leadership, ladies and gentlemen. So authentic leadership, for instance, is marked with honesty and transparency. So this is where now safety leadership borrows a leaf from this concept of authentic leadership. So, and the honesty, as you can see here, can have a dual meaning. It can be referenced as honest from your own moral code as a manager, and of course being also honest with your interactions and your actions and so forth. And being honest with yourself requires a level of self-awareness. And that's an aspect of, again, authentic leadership, as you can see. So at the end of the day, you are likely to achieve results. And of course, self-reflection and personal honesty may be strengthened by a number of issues that you need to undertake at the workplace in terms of providing objective feedback, asking yourself, what did I do that contributed to the situation? What can I do better? You can look at tangible processes such as this 360 feedback assessment or coaching. You can spend some time throughout the week reflecting on the footprints of your leadership behaviors and so forth, because, ladies and gentlemen, honesty breeds honesty, and we know behavior breeds behaviors. So, in the interest of time, I want to take you to the next element there, which is actually values, as you can see. So it's very important for us to understand these components, right? And right now, we are at that level when we try to discuss values. Now, of course, as you can see, when empirically crafting the definition towards safety leadership, core values towards safety are critical. And the definition I gave you had that element of values, coming up with the values. And you know very well that a value is an innate drive to ensure safety of yourself and others. And of course, this should permeate through out the organization, the various interactions you will be having with the employees at the workplace. And this is really very, very, very important. Values, you must have values. And as I said, I don't want to spend too much time on these things here, but there must be an alignment of values between yourself and your team. And once you do that, it will be quite easier for you to influence them, because they will know those particular ethos that underlie your leadership at the workplace. So, and you get individuals to comply with the safety, and that must be a major value of the organization. And they work very, very, very hard to ensure that they achieve results, and then you rule out all those aspects of stress, increase the level of frustration and feelings of hopelessness, as referred in the locus of control literature. I'm sure you know that very well. So if you want to promote values at the workplace, then, ladies and gentlemen, there are a number of things that you can do. You recruit employees based upon aligned personal values and that of the organization. The only problem we have is that we simply bring in people anyhow, especially in developing countries where you have an employment problem. And of course, the social pressures that we face. But otherwise, you are supposed to recruit individuals who have values and who are able to promote the values of the organization. You also reward behaviors that amplifies the value of safety. You also find out what the worker values and linking that with safety requirements of the organization. You share your commitments to safety, and you demonstrate such a commitment through tangible actions. And many other things. Self-examination of what is truly valued to yourself and others is also very critical, ladies and gentlemen. So let me turn to the next element you see there, and that is promotion, right? As you can see, promotion, we are more or less getting towards the end. That is promotion there. I just want you to think about something. Imagine an organization that is mute and silent towards safety. Nobody will know what's happening. So when we talk about promotion, that means creating awareness. Every individual at the workplace must know these things. And if you have created what we call values, you certainly disseminate, you share this information. And that is very, very, very important. So you need to realign these things here, and you do not probably spend too much time emphasizing deadlines, work goals, or key performance indicators. In fact, these issues of safety at the workplace must be part of this thing that you call deadlines. You don't simply put put somebody in the corner somewhere, and you begin hard pressing that individual that you know is tomorrow. And I know certain managers at the workplace who will give you work today, and that work requires a lot of time, a lot of consultation, a lot of research, but they want information and they want reports the following day, and they will tell you it is urgent. And you begin asking yourself, we've been here in the office for the last 30 days. You've never talked about this, but right now you are telling me that I must produce results and hand in a report the following day because management is sitting on Friday, because the board is sitting on Friday, etc. And this is ridiculous. Because you people know very well the days and the dates, because you have a calendar on which, for instance, the boards actually sit and the management probably sit. So you don't simply put people on at gunpoint and you say you must produce results. So it's very important here, right, so that we imbued these safety indicators in our performance indicators, in deadlines and work goals. And that's very important, right? So as you can see, this component of safety must be discussed, right, at the workplace. So we do not expect managers who don't think about this. So a safety leader creates an environment where there is open discussion of safety, right, but not the absence of discussion of that particular aspect. So the underlying message for these leaders is that they value safety very much. So productivity is not valued over safety, but they move hand in hand and in the same direction. And if we do that, then we achieve results, because I know some people these days at the workplace are struggling and juggling through trying to balance home life, trying to struggle and balance family life, and struggle and also balance social life alongside the work life. So the work-life balance becomes a little bit problematic in this case. And that's why you find individuals suffering from burnout, suffering from stress, etc., etc. So that is very important for individuals to think about, ladies and gentlemen. So some of the things that you could do to promote that particular aspect of promotion that I've been discussing at the workplace will include, for instance, reinforcing and sharing the safe behaviors. Then we deal with the workplace culture and team morale being boosted. Then, of course, make sure that you have a one-on-one conversation with the employees about safety and well-being, and, of course, with the focus of what is working well and what needs to be improved in order to really reduce accidents at the workplace, so that you're able to promote safety and, of course, well-being of the employees. So, and, of course, if there are certain things that have occurred in the past, and they provide lessons for you to move forward, then confidentiality and outlining the key learnings from the incident becomes very important at that material time. So this is very important. There must be feedback, and of course we do that. Now, if there is lack of feedback, that lack of feedback can breed contempt and disempowerment, ladies and gentlemen. So let's now go to another component towards the end, that is demonstration, as you can see. Ladies and gentlemen, the ethos of being a safety leader is heavily weighed towards demonstrating behaviors that exemplify safety leadership. It's very important this material time that leaders are measured by their actions as opposed to their intent. That is very important. Do not tell people that, you know, we intend to do A, B, and C. No, they cannot see that. Right? They are able to see your actions on the daily basis. And let me just give you an example here. If you have a child and you're a father or mother, and you have an intent to be present at your son's birthday party, now, although work requires you to be there and somehow you do not really attend, etc., to the child, it is not intent that matters, it is the actions that matter. The child cannot gauge the intent of the parent, but just the reality that his father is elsewhere on this special day of his birthday will provide a message to this child, because you are not demonstrating that you really have interest in the son's or daughter's birthday in this case. So it's very important. Safety leadership works in a similar way. All of the leaders' intentions may be valid for keeping the people safe or the environment safe, but if injuries and incidents are constantly occurring, the workforce neglects the intent, your intent towards safety, and instead measures the commitment to safety by what is actually occurring around them. And those people may actually, if you're not very careful at the end of the day, they may try to demonstrate. So at this material time, as we are covering that, we shall come back to the screen, but let me just continue talking about the same concept that I have called demonstration. A safety leader demonstrates, and his actions make sense in this case. And I want to give you examples, because we know many various organizations say, well, we have a safe working environment, a safe working office, safe working space, that kind of thing. That is very good, ladies and gentlemen. But I want to say that the employees judge you on the basis of reality, on the basis of actions, basis of what they have seen. So if you have had injuries at the workplace, they will always critique your leadership style, and they will always share this information. Let me give you an example. For those who are working with the computers most of the time, I know all of us are using computers now. and machines which are automated in factories and everywhere, etc. And sometimes we think that we are safe using these machines. We do not know the effects that come as a result of constant use of these computers, and we suffer. I know that this thing is real. I have a sister who has suffered from this, who has been working in the commercial bank for over 15, 16, 17 years and interacting with the computer, and she really got it rough and got sick. And let me describe some of the things that happen with these machines. For example, employees who spend their time using computers suffer from computer mouse hazards. And we don't know that. These computer mice that we use, or mouse that you use, is hazardous, right? And there are a number of reasons why using a mouse regularly can be hazardous. And we need to know that. And one of the reasons that using a mouse requires a person to make very small but exact movements with their hand, fingers, and thumb. You can imagine you start doing that very early in the morning as 4 a.m., 5 a.m., or 6 a.m., or 7, and this is what happens in commercial banks most of the time. So when you use the mouse, right, for you as the use of the computer, you make small but exact movements with your hand, fingers, and thumb. Now, by positioning, traveling, scrolling, and clicking the mouse again and again, because that's what you do, right? You use your mouse to scroll, to travel around the document. So this is something that you do, right? This is your mouse, right? So you start using your fingers like this. You move, right? As you can see there, right? You make exact movements with your hands, fingers, and the thumb, but by positioning, traveling, and scrolling, and clicking the mouse again and again, the same small muscles can become tired. So we have muscles on our hands here that become tired and overworked, the small muscles. And that's what you need to know, ladies and gentlemen, because that's what happens. They become tired. And the overuse of this, ladies and gentlemen, creates pain, right? It creates ache. It creates soreness on the top of the hand, here, top of the finger, somewhere there, right? Because this is what you are doing most of the time, moving around, right? So there will be pain, right? And you get some bit of aching and soreness on the top of the hand, and you get pain, ache, and soreness around the wrist, right? Because that's what you are doing most of the time. You get pain, ache, and soreness along the forearm and elbow, right? And then, of course, at the end of the day, we shall see a formulation of painful nodules. And in the later stages, you'll get ganglion cysts, right, around the joints and along the tendons. And of course, before you know it, you have numbness, you have tingling in the thumb and index finger. And then, of course, you get into what we call burning, stiffness, and restricted range of motion. So if you spend most of your time using these things here, those are the things that you get. And that's why, ladies and gentlemen, you are supposed to be very, very, very wise, right? So when we talk about health, safety and well-being, we are referring to everything that goes on at the workplace. Therefore, occupational health becomes very significant at this point. But I should also tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that we have additional computer-induced medical problems. And these ones, for instance, may result into what we call the carpal tunnel syndrome. I'll not go into details of these things, but you can go and search and look at the body of knowledge that has documented these elements so that you understand what I'm talking about. So the carpal tunnel syndrome is another additional element from computers, using computers most of the time. The computer vision syndrome is another element that you can get. The musculoskeletal problems is another issue that you get. You also get sleep disorders, ladies and gentlemen. And if you are not very lucky, you may also get mental problems at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen. So that is really the point that I wanted to bring out, the point of demonstration. As a leader, it is not the intent, but the actual reality. So do something and make sure that individuals know exactly what you are doing. So we also have engagement as the last point. Now, when we talk about issues of engagement, we are saying we must have the ability to interact and engage with others, right? So you must find a way of engaging your teams. You must build rapport and establish a robust working relationship with your employees. It's not a matter of going to the office on a daily basis and then you have a transactional greeting and you say, hello, in the morning, and in the evening you say, goodbye. That does not work. That is not engagement. So as part of the safety definition, safety leadership definition that I gave you, there was an element of engagement, and engagement is the social glue. And then, of course, by transferring your own safety leadership ethos towards others via the art of communication and similarity. So we must be able to do that. Now, ways to engage and promote this element of engagement at the workplace may include talking with the team members about things that matter at work, issues related to health, safety, and well-being. You should also be very open and receive feedback. You don't feel bad when they talk about certain issues. I know there are certain individuals, when you start talking about issues that relate to the way they are managing, they will feel offended and they can even fight. But you need to allow your employees and superiors and subordinates to come to you and give you feedback. And of course, finding out and coming up with opportunities to interact quite regularly at the workplace. So it's very important for most of us to recognize the fact that those aspects are very, very, very important, ladies and gentlemen. So, ladies and gentlemen, allow me at this material time to take you to another aspect that is very important, because I promised at the beginning of this lecture that we shall be able to see how safety leadership differs from other forms of leadership models. So we know the way we defined safety leadership, that we deal with the issue of safety, right? Safety is an element that must be ingrained in everything that you do, and that is actually a parallel aspect that you will not find in other theories. So I want you to note that, because safety leadership certainly deals with those components of safety, as you can see. So, ladies and gentlemen, I will not, again in the interest of time, go into the discussions of the various theories of leadership and other forms of leadership and articulate what these things is all about. But let me just emphasize those things that make sense in leadership, right? Let me just say, for example, in transformational leadership, right? Now, transformational leadership is dictated by meaningful relationships. Again, when you come to the safety leadership concept, that aspect is there, right? There must be commitment, there must be trust, where the leader motivates every individual to work towards achieving safety at the workplace. Now, of course, from a safety leadership point of view, this can translate into leaders steering the ship and taking control in the midst of a safety crisis and gathering commitment from others with simple transactional safety tasks. So it's very important for us to note that that is the only element that we actually pick from transformational leadership, and the other things make us a little bit different from what they articulate. Right, I also know, I did tell you that in on authentic leadership, we have issues of transparency, internalized moral perspectives, balanced processing, etc. Now for us, we only pick a few aspects there, like transparency, openness, and self-awareness of one's limitation. And therefore, safety leaders who are authentic tend to develop trust with their team members. And this is exactly what we do in this case, ladies and gentlemen. Now, of course, I know that you will be able to go to literature and certainly try to read and find those things. So allow me, ladies and gentlemen, at this material time to show you a diagram. Now, before I discuss from the diagram here, you can see safety leadership definition is somewhere here, right? And of course, you'll see here on the right there, and of course on the left there, you'll have discipline somewhere here. I think you can see that. And then, of course, this other side you have engagement, right? Then we have values, as you can see the values there. We have vision, and those are things we've been discussing, issues of honesty around that area. Now, the other side, you've got engagement, demonstration, and promotion. Now, what we've done here is to summarize those key things that make sense, that articulate those things that we are talking about. For instance, discipline, we are talking about personal discipline, and you see the concepts there, applying discipline to others and providing consequences. While in engagement there, we are talking about building relationship with the others, communication and field interactions, and then demonstration there we have following through, because you must do that with the safety standards, and participating in toolboxes and wearing personal protection equipment that are available at the workplace. Now, in the middle here, as you can see this black circle, once you bring these things together this way, we have a demonstration of safety values through the creation of a vision and the promotion of well-being through the art of engagement, honesty, and discipline. And then at the end of the day, you'll have what we call safety leadership at that material time. So, ladies and gentlemen, the unique elements of safety leadership are that after a serious and critical review of literature, one core aspect that came through was the importance of having a deep personal investment in safety, as you can see from this diagram here. You will also see that leaders who do not have a deep regard for safety are less likely to invest in safety efforts, and may even drive their workers to a point of burnout, ladies and gentlemen. So the focus on safety leadership may be minimizing injury and maximizing safety while having employees functioning at their maximum productivity. Another unique element with the safety leadership can be seen through industry focus on statistics, and safety leadership differs due to the industry importance of safety statistics. And of course, another unique aspect of safety leadership that we can see, again from this diagram here, is the external fluctuations of the market, subsequent investments into safety processes and safety behavior. And therefore, the importance of safety management system is unequivocal in terms of managing incidents, in terms of tracking incidents and trends, and establishing corrective actions, ladies and gentlemen. So those are things that do tell us what safety leadership is all about, and based upon such concepts that I've just given to you and differences, safety leadership exists as a subject of leadership which can be spoken in the same subset of leadership theories, such as the transformational theory, charismatic leadership, transformational leadership, charismatic leadership, transactional leadership, and values-based leadership, ladies and gentlemen. So, ladies and gentlemen, allow me conclude the course and give you a summary of the highlights that we have just been discussing, ladies and gentlemen. Now, in summary, ladies and gentlemen, we have discovered that safety leadership has been defined and broken down in details. And I've given you those components that constitute safety leadership. Ladies and gentlemen, I've also provided the importance of demonstrating safety leadership as a core ingredient in distinguishing leadership from other forms of leadership. But of course, I've not done justice in this area. Given the fact that the time is limited, I would like to invite you, ladies and gentlemen, to go to the internet and download journal articles and start reading. And there are also many books that do exist on the internet, and those can provide a basis for theorization and a clear understanding and conceptualization of leadership in relation to other forms of leadership like transactional leadership, charismatic leadership, and so forth. Right. Now, I have also been able to articulate the environment, and here we're talking about the organizational and environmental context that distinguish safety leadership from other forms of leadership. And of course, statistics and legislation variables also make safety leadership unique, and the various things that they are supposed to handle. And that's why we need to continue engaging in this search and thirst for knowledge in the area of safety leadership, ladies and gentlemen. Now, leaders who are closer to the workfront view safety leadership. And of course, as you can see, we are saying that the view that workers will have about safety leadership may depend on the position that they have within the organization. So if somebody is at the shop floor, the objective is to implement most of the things, and therefore may not really value these things very much. And that's why leaders must sell the vision, safety leadership vision, to the rest of the members in the organization. And of course, it's very important to compile those risk-related issues and sharing them with the others. And I also want to say, no matter what the span of influence is, safety leadership can be displayed in different ways, the way we have seen, and with a common definition to safety leadership being mapped out, then there is a consistency of safety leadership across the various sectors and industries. And of course, at the end of the day, we are able to deal with this problem and the confusion that seem to exist in the area of safety leadership. So that is our summary, ladies and gentlemen, coming from this lecture that we've been having. I want to thank you, ladies and gentlemen, but again, bring to your attention that this was the second lecture, which has formed the 14th lecture under the series of leadership, which is part of occupational health and safety, because the first lecture was lecture 13, and this one is lecture 14, right? But I'll be coming back again with another version so that we understand these concepts very well. So in this lecture, we have defined safety leadership, and we have made sure that we are talking about the same things, ladies and gentlemen. So we have gone through the conceptualization, and we have seen how safety leadership will differ. I want to thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for attending this lecture, for being attentive, and for bearing with me. We shall be meeting this week again for discussions so that we try to understand this concept better. So stay home, stay safe. I wish you a nice time. by